In the brightly lit studio of NBC Nightly News, the air crackled with tension as Lester Holt, the seasoned anchor with a reputation for unflinching journalism, prepared to grill his high-profile guest. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, sat poised across from him, her signature poise masking what would soon unravel into a storm of controversy. The segment was billed as a candid conversation about her latest philanthropic endeavors, but from the moment the cameras rolled, it was clear this would be anything but ordinary. Holt, with his trademark calm demeanor, leaned forward, his eyes sharp behind his glasses. "Your Royal Highness, or should I say, Ms. Markle, let's cut to the chase. You've positioned yourself as a champion for women's rights, yet critics argue your narrative often glosses over the very privileges that enabled your platform. How do you respond to those who say your advocacy is more performative than substantive?" Markle's smile faltered for a split second, her fingers tightening around the armrest. She launched into a rehearsed defense, citing her work with the Archwell Foundation and her unyielding commitment to mental health awareness. But Holt wasn't buying it. He interjected smoothly, "With all due respect, ma'am, your foundation's financials show more spent on PR firms than on direct aid last year. Isn't that the very definition of performative?" The studio audience, a mix of invited dignitaries and media insiders, shifted uncomfortably as Markle's cheeks flushed. She fired back, accusing the media of relentless scrutiny that no other woman endures. "Lester, you of all people should understand the weight of institutional bias," she said, her voice rising. Holt nodded sympathetically, but his follow-up was a dagger. "Indeed, but as an African-American man who's risen through the ranks of broadcast journalism, I've earned my voice through decades of hard reporting, not through a fairy tale wedding broadcast to billions." The exchange escalated quickly, with Markle invoking her experiences within the royal family, hinting at the racism she and Prince Harry faced. Holt, ever the professional, pressed harder. "Those allegations are serious, but without concrete evidence beyond a tell-all book, how can viewers distinguish between truth and tabloid fodder?" Markle's eyes narrowed. She leaned in, her tone sharpening. "You're dismissing lived trauma as fodder. That's exactly the gaslighting I escaped." The argument hung in the air like smoke from a smoldering fire, the teleprompter forgotten as the two titans clashed in real time. Holt's co-anchor, Savannah Guthrie, watched from the side, her producer whispering frantically into her earpiece about commercial breaks. But Holt waved them off. This was news unfolding live. As the first commercial faded back in, the internet was already ablaze, hashtags like #MeghanVsLester trending worldwide. Viewers tuned in by the millions, drawn to the raw authenticity of an interview that had devolved into a cultural showdown. Markle, recovering her composure, attempted to pivot to her upcoming projects, but Holt circled back relentlessly. "Let's talk about your Netflix deal," he said, his voice steady. "Billions invested, yet the series, Harry and Meghan, drew accusations of one-sided storytelling. Did you anticipate the backlash, or was it just another chapter in the Sussex saga?" Markle bristled, countering that the monarchy's silence spoke volumes. The back and forth continued, each point a parry and thrust in a verbal fencing match that captivated and divided audiences. By the segment's midpoint, it was evident, this wasn't just an interview, it was a reckoning. As the red light blinked steadily on the camera, Lester Holt adjusted his notes, his expression a mask of polite inquisitiveness that belied the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Meghan Markle, her posture impeccable despite the undercurrent of friction, smoothed her silk blouse and met his gaze with the defiance of someone who's weathered tabloid tempests. The topic shifted to her advocacy for racial justice, a cornerstone of her post-royal identity. "You've spoken eloquently about systemic inequality," Holt began, but when pressed on specifics, like the disproportionate funding gaps in Black maternal health, your responses often veer into generalities. "Why not dive deeper?" Markle's reply was passionate, recounting statistics she'd memorized, her voice infused with the fervor of personal conviction. Yet Holt, undeterred, countered with data from recent reports. "According to the CDC, those gaps persist, and while your awareness campaigns are laudable, they've yet to translate into measurable policy shifts. Is influence enough when lives are at stake?" The studio lights seemed to intensify, casting long shadows across the polished desk as Markle pushed back. "Lester, you're critiquing from a pedestal of privilege. NBC's airwaves aren't exactly a grassroots movement." The barb landed, and for a moment, silence enveloped the set. Holt's laugh was short, almost mirthless. "Privilege. Try breaking barriers as the first Black anchor of this network while dodging skepticism at every turn. Your grace came gift-wrapped, mine was forged in fire." The audience murmured, a ripple of surprise at the raw edge in his tone. Markle, sensing the tide turning, attempted levity. We're both outsiders who made it in, aren't we? Let's not pit our pains against each other. But Holt seized the opening. Outsiders. The royals courted you as their golden ticket to modernity. I earned every inch. The argument spiraled, touching on everything from media ethics to celebrity activism's pitfalls. Markle accused Holt of embodying the very establishment she fled, while he dismantled her points with cited facts, Oprah interviews dissected, Spotify podcast metrics laid bare. You're silenced. Series promised unfiltered truths but delivered polished narratives, he noted, prompting Markle to retort, and nightly news. A nightly parade of soundbites over substance. The exchange crackled with electricity, producers sweating as ratings spiked. Off camera, crew members exchanged wide-eyed glances. This was gold, unscripted and unapologetic. As the second act unfolded, Holt pivoted to her family dynamics, probing the estrangement from the Windsors. Prince Harry's book painted a picture of dysfunction, but where's the accountability on your end? Markle bristled, her response a torrent of grievances, isolation, betrayal, the suffocating glare of scrutiny. Holt listened, then struck. Accountability cuts both ways. The palace's opacity is infamous, but transparency demands reciprocity. The debate raged on, each revelation peeling back layers of public personas, exposing the human beneath the headlines. Viewers at home leaned closer to screens, phones buzzing with reactions from London to Los Angeles. This wasn't demolition, it was excavation, unearthing truths long buried under layers of gloss and protocol. By paragraph's end, the fault lines were clear, two worlds colliding, with no easy victors. The clock on the studio wall ticked mercilessly toward the halfway mark, but time felt elastic in the charged atmosphere of NBC Nightly News. Lester Holt, sleeves rolled up now in a subtle signal of battle readiness, fixed Meghan Markle with a stare that had toppled lesser interviewees. She, undaunted, crossed her legs and tilted her head, a gesture of regal nonchalance masking the storm within. "Let's address the elephant in the room," Holt said, his baritone resonant. "Your departure from royal duties was framed as a quest for independence, yet lawsuits and relocations suggest a pattern of evasion rather than empowerment. Care to elaborate?" Markle's eyes flashed. She leaned forward, her words measured but laced with steel. "Evasion. Try survival in a system designed to break you. I've built a life on my terms, books, brands, benevolence." Holt nodded, then unleashed a volley, benevolence funded by deals that critics call opportunistic. Your American Riviera orchard jam line, charming, but is it activism or affluence? The riposte drew a sharp intake of breath from the live audience, whispers snaking through the rows. Markle countered fiercely, every venture supports causes you champion nightly, equity, environment. Scrutinize the impact, not the intent. But Holt was relentless, pulling up mental files of discrepancies. Impact. Your foundation's DEI initiatives praised inclusivity, yet board diversity lags behind peers. Tokenism or oversight? The accusation hung heavy, Markle's composure cracking as she gestured emphatically. Lester, this inquisition reeks of the same biases I fled, judging a woman's ambition through a lens of suspicion. Holt's response was swift, his voice rising just a notch. Suspicion born of scrutiny I apply equally. Remember, I've grilled presidents and moguls, fairness is my creed, not favoritism. The studio thrummed with unspoken energy, the camera capturing every micro-expression, the furrow in Markle's brow, the steely glint in Holt's eye. As the argument intensified, it veered into personal territory, her marriage, her motherhood, the relentless paparazzi chase. You decry the intrusion, Holt pressed, yet your docuseries invited it. Selective vulnerability. Markle shot back, it's reclaiming the narrative, something men like you do effortlessly. The gender card ignited fresh sparks, Holt retorting, effortlessly. Try decades of proving worth in rooms doubting your place. The clash echoed broader societal rifts, race, class, fame's double-edged sword. Producers signaled frantically for a breather, but the duo barreled on, oblivious. Social media erupted, clips going viral, #Holt destroys Meghan amassing millions of views. At home, families debated over dinner, in newsrooms, editors scrambled for angles. This segment had transcended entertainment, becoming a mirror to America's divides. Markle, rallying, touted her UN speech on gender equality, but Holt dissected its reception, applauded abroad, critiqued at home for lacking actionable steps. Her frustration boiled over. Always the critic, never the collaborator. Holt's smile was wry. Collaboration requires candor, not curation. The verbal joust continued, each thrust revealing more, ambitions clashing, ideals interrogated. As the third act waned, exhaustion crept in, yet neither yielded ground. It was a dance of intellects, fierce and unflagging, promising revelations yet to come. Under the unrelenting gaze of the studio spotlights, Lester Holt paused for a sip of water, his composure a fortress amid the fray. Meghan Markle, her earrings catching the light like distant stars, exhaled slowly, recalibrating for the next salvo. The conversation had morphed into a high-stakes symposium on power and perception, with Holt steering toward her political aspirations. Whispers suggest a run for office, he probed gently, but can a former royal navigate California's cutthroat politics without the scent of monarchy lingering? Markle's laughter was light, almost tinkling, but her eyes were serious. Politics. I'm focused on influence, not elections. Change happens at the table, not just the ballot. Holt arched an eyebrow, his follow-up incisive, influence via celebrity endorsements. Your support for progressive causes sways votes. Yet polls show skepticism among core demographics. Elitism or empathy? The question landed like a gauntlet, Markle straightening as she dismantled it. Empathy forged in adversity, you can't poll pain. But Holt pressed, citing voter data. Adversity sells in memoirs, but governance demands deliverables. Your silence on local issues like homelessness raises eyebrows. The audience leaned in, the air thick with anticipation. Markle pivoted adroitly, sharing anecdotes from Invictus Games visits, her voice softening with genuine emotion. I've seen resilience firsthand, that's my blueprint. Holt acknowledged the sincerity, then pivoted sharply. Resilience is admirable, but your legal battles, against the mail, the palace, seem more about protection than progress. Is litigation your legacy? Markle's tone sharpened. Legacy. Try justice in an unjust world. You report on injustices, I live them. The retort drew nods from some viewers, but Holt countered with journalistic precision. Justice delayed by endless appeals isn't progress, it's prolongation. The exchange crackled, delving into free speech versus privacy rights, with Markle accusing media of complicity in royal cover-ups. NBC airs the sanitized version, she charged. Holt's rebuttal was measured. We air facts, not fictions, unlike certain streaming specials. Gasps rippled through the crowd, this was the soundbite of the night. As tensions peaked, the argument broadened to global feminism, Markle lauding her Smart Works initiative while Holt questioned its scalability. Noble, but one suit at a time won't upend economies, he noted. Her response was fiery. Start small, scale smart, mockery from the sidelines achieves nothing. Holt's eyes twinkled with respect amid the rigor. Mockery. Merely magnification of gaps. The dialogue flowed like a river in flood, meandering through memoirs' authenticity, podcast pitfalls, and the perils of public vulnerability. Off mic, the director mouthed, "Wrap it," but the anchors ignored him, lost in the rhythm of rebuttal. Online, forums buzzed with analysis, feminists divided, royal watchers rapt. This wasn't destruction, it was deconstruction, brick by verbal brick. Markle, ever resilient, circled back to hope. From this friction, perhaps understanding emerges. Holt conceded with a nod, or at least, better questions. Yet the fire simmered, unquenched, as the segment barreled toward its climax, leaving all breathless. The NBC nightly news set, once a bastion of polished discourse, now pulsed with the raw energy of an unscripted arena. Lester Holt, tie slightly askew from animated gestures, regarded Meghan Markle with the respect of a peer, even as his questions cut deep. She, her hair a cascade of controlled waves, met him volley for volley, her advocacy armor dented but intact. Your book, The Bench, celebrated fatherhood, Holt observed, yet Harry's revelations paint a fraught family dynamic. How do we reconcile the public joy with private strife? Markle's pause was pregnant, her answer layered. Public narratives are snapshots, private healings are marathons. I've chosen grace over grudge. Holt leaned in, his voice probing, grace that includes multi-million deals. Critics call it commodifying trauma. The accusation stung, Markle retorting swiftly, commodifying. Try amplifying voices silenced too long. The studio held its collective breath as Holt unpacked the economics, amplifying via publishers who profit handsomely. Is the message muddled by the money? Markle fired back, money funds the mission, yours too, Lester. Network salaries don't grow on trees. A chuckle escaped Holt, diffusing momentarily, touché, but transparency tempers trust. The banter lightened, only to darken on topics of mental health stigma. Markle shared, Vulnerably, tears glistening, but Holt gently challenged, your candor inspires, yet access to therapy remains a luxury for many. How bridges that divide? Her response was a clarion call, by destigmatizing, demanding policy, starting with royal reforms. Holt nodded, then struck, reforms you abandoned by abdicating duties. Regret or relief? The personal query elicited a rare vulnerability, relief, with ripples of regret. But growth demands departure. The admission humanized her, softening the edges of the skirmish. Yet Holt persisted, dissecting her fashion empire's sustainability claims amid fast fashion critiques. Eco-friendly labels on leather goods. He queried. Markle defended. Ethical sourcing, circular economy, nuance over absolutes. The debate wove through wellness apps to wildlife conservation, each thread tested for tensile strength. Audience polls flashed on screens, split evenly, mirroring national divides. As commercials loomed, the intensity crested on legacy, what endures beyond the headlines. Markle posited empowerment, Holt, authenticity. Empowerment without authenticity crumbles, he warned. Her counter. Authenticity without action echoes empty. The philosophical joust enthralled, transcending celebrity to touch universal truths. Producers exhaled as a break hit, but the duo shared a fleeting smile, warriors recognizing warriors. Resuming, Holt tackled her reconciliation overtures to the royals, a birthday call to Charles, gesture or gambit. Markle. Genuine olive branch in a thorny garden. The nuance enriched the narrative, humanizing the headline grabbers. Social feeds overflowed with empathy and critique, the world watching a masterclass in confrontation. This phase marked evolution, from clash to communion's cusp, where destruction yielded to dialogue's dawn. As the final minutes of the NBC Nightly News segment loomed, Lester Holt straightened his posture, the weight of a landmark interview settling like a mantle. Meghan Markle, her makeup flawless despite the emotional odyssey, exuded a quiet resolve, ready for the coda. The air hummed with unresolved electricity, the audience riveted to the unfolding drama. In closing, Holt intoned, your journey from actress to activist to advocate has redefined reinvention. But at what cost to your peace? Markle's reflection was poignant. Peace is the prize, hard won through tempests. I'd choose it again. Holt, ever the sage, offered a counterpoint. Reinvention demands reflection, not just revelation. Have you paused to ponder the wake? The query prompted introspection, Markle admitting, daily. Fame's mirror distorts, therapy sharpens the view. The vulnerability bridged their divide, Holt softening, a view we all refine under spotlights. Yet he couldn't resist one last probe. Spotlights you once shunned, now seek strategically. Strategy or sincerity? Markle met it head-on. Both, life's not binary. Sincerity fuels strategy. The exchange tapered into mutual regard, touching on future horizons, her potential in diplomacy, Holt's counsel on legacy building. Diplomacy suits you, he conceded, but expect the grill from all quarters. Her laugh was genuine. Bring it, I've got my fire now. The studio erupted in applause as wrap-up music swelled, but the real ovation thundered online, clips dissected, debates ignited. Holt signed off with gravitas, a conversation that challenges us all to listen harder, question deeper. Markle, rising for a handshake, whispered, thank you for seeing me. The gesture sealed the segment's arc, from confrontation to connection. Post-broadcast, NBC's switchboards lit up, ratings shattering records. Pundits praised Holt's mastery, while supporters hailed Markle's mettle. This wasn't mere destruction, it was a demolition of facades, reconstructing understanding from the rubble. In the green room, over coffee, the pair debriefed lightly, bonds forged in the forge of frankness. Markle jotted notes for her next chapter, Holt prepped for tomorrow's headlines. The world, forever changed by their candor, buzzed with possibility, proof that from heated arguments bloom the seeds of progress. As credits rolled, one truth lingered. In the arena of ideas, victors emerge not by conquest but by courage. And on this night, both shone.